everyone, my name is Shivani Tyagi, your philosophy and ethics teacher. So, in philosophy, a very discussable concept which is God. So there are different philosophers who gave different ideologies of it. Some try to prove their philosophy on basis of this, but when it came to proving the concept of God, they failed in that. So today we are going to understand how philosophy took this concept, what philosophy people said about it, and how they took it and how they criticized each other. So in philosophy, this term is important not through the religious perspective, but also through the how philosophers actually took their philosophies, their theories, their concepts with this term. So let's understand what exactly it is and who came with this idea, who generated it, why they generated it, and how they criticized each other, right? So basically we know this, that God is someone who is eternal, right? Benevolent, omniscient and omnipotent. One who is existing everywhere, one who is kind, knows everything and is eternal, is never going to die, right? So these are the things that has been said about God, we know all it, right? So when it comes to acceptance of God, the view of God, there are some minor modifications with different philosophers, and this could be seen with their philosophies, with their theories as well, right? So basically they all agree that anthropomorphic conception of personal growth, right? There is this perception of God which exists in everyone, and especially when it comes to philosopher, Descartes says something, Kant has different meaning, especially when it comes to morality, and Descartes also a solipsism philosopher who said that I exist. So there are different concepts that they come with, right? But they had one major thing, that the existence of God, right? They tried to prove it in their way. Although people criticize them, other philosophers criticize them because they couldn't prove it. So it's a very logical and philosophical problem, right? That we arise, that we accept these theses, but there is no proof to it. So now I hope that you understood that what we are going to discuss and how important this is for philosophy. Why it is important for philosophy? Because rejection of God is actually, much more telling us about the theories of philosophers, right? So basically, it describes God as transcendent on one hand, right, and on the other hand, accept them all as benevolent activities. So this is Kant that we are talking about, and there are different arguments that have been given, right? This which proves the existence of God. So basically, these arguments can be classified into two groups, and which proves us that if they are actually existing or not. First one is ontological, right? So and the second group tried to prove the existence of God on the basis of experience of the human beings through are called cosmological, and the third one is teleological. So basically ontological argument says that now we have this idea of God, right? This came in our mind, so there must be some existence to it, right? Then we have another one which is cosmological. So these are on the basis of experience, right? So they say that now we can make experience certain things. So on the basis of this theory, they says that with cosmological argument, they says that yes, existence of God could be proven out. And then teleological is something which is based on religious experiences, on the thesis, on the Vedas. We like experience it, we read it, and we have the spirituality, right? So these are the three things that we are going to understand, and who are the philosophers who took which concept and why did it, and who criticized them. So this is what we are going to understand. So basically, let's understand first what is ontological argument. So basically, ontological argument, these are, other than observation, right? Because there is this concept, these believe that because we have this concept in our mind that this particular thing, suppose a particular thing, X is existing, right? And I gave this X certain features, right? This X is beautiful, is very kind, is very good, and certain features like kind, good, and there are other things also. Like I gave them features, characteristics are there, right? So this X, which I don't know existing or not, but it is in my mind, is actually present in my mind. So this has certain features and characteristics. So this is the idea of ontological. Now, if it is existing in my mind and have certain characteristics and features, then this is the theory, this is the like giving the chances that yes, it is present in reality, then there must be some concept. So existence proves itself, right? So basically, from reason alone we can prove it, right? So ontological is based on logic and reasoning. Understood? So basically, these are typically all to be more analytic and a priori, right? They are known before. So known before, like in cosmological, experience is required, but in ontological, they are known before the experience. Their existence is before the experience. This is what a priori means, right? And it's necessary premise to the conclusion that God exists. The idea of this X, right? What it says that yes, existence of God is there because I have this certain idea in my mind. So I'm sure there might be like a thing which is omniscient, omnipotent, and it's eternal. So these are the ideas which ontological tells us about. Now, basically, there are different philosophers who came with this idea, right? And it was developed by Anselm. And there is this another philosopher who criticized him. It was Galileo. I think the name is written wrong here, but please make it right. The Galileo is a person who criticized him. So Anselm's idea was that if you have this certain idea, like I gave you example of X, and have certain features of it, and is actually have characteristics. So if a person, if an object, if a thing is existing in mind, then its existence, it proves automatically. This is what Anselm theory is. So this Galileo rejects him, saying that if you are thinking about some argument, you are thinking about some, for example, let's take example of like a perfect island, right? And there is no such thing perfect island existing in reality, and you are coming up with certain features of that island, right? So Galileo, he questions him that if you are coming up with such thing which is not existing in reality, then how will you prove it? So this criticized Anselm's theory, right? So there are first form of argument of his, and there is second form of argument of his. So first form of argument, the example X, I explained it to you. So it says that if X is existing in mind only and it's existing in reality as well, right? If there are existence of these particular things in your mind, then in reality also it is existing. This is first form of argument. Then second form of argument is that he is only directed to God's existence, but also in uniquely necessarily existence. So basically this X is existing in our mind, so it is going to exist in reality also. So the core of this notion is necessary being of self-existence. Now can I prove like unicorn? Let's take example of unicorn, and I'm saying that there is certain features of unicorn. Like we all know that there is no such thing called unicorn, right? But according to Anselm, if there is a concept in your mind and you are mixing up it all together and you have the idea of it in your mind, then the reality proves itself. So in the same way, he tried to prove the existence of God. Understood? Then basically criticism was given by Galileo, like I said, Gonilo. So what did Gonilo says? Gonilo says that if you are proving it, if you are saying that there is such thing called existence like perfection of God, who is omnipotent, who is omniscient, who is eternal, kind and everything, has all like perfect being, right? Who is thing who made this world. If you are coming up with certain features, so there might be like things we can imagine, right? Our mind can imagine. So can we prove those certain things? So this was the question that he asked. So he says that Anselm is reasoning it will lead to some absurd conclusion. Why it will lead to absurd conclusion? Because the proved points are not valid. Because there are certain things which our mind can prove, but in reality that cannot exist, right? So this was the theory, and this was he coming up with concept, and this is how Gonilo, rejects him. So Descartes, the important philosopher, and when I read Descartes' theory when I was in my graduation, so basically I had like when I read him, I felt like he was very curious child who wanted to explore so much in the life. And when he came to his philosophy, it was very funny to me. And the reason is because he came with such big ideas, he questioned such big realities, and he questioned such big philosophy. But then he came to certain small concept of I think, therefore I exist, right? So this was something very like childish to me, because he was actually thinking that if nothing is existing, then okay, I'll prove myself. So this is how it was. So now let's understand what his Descartes' God theory is. He says that our idea of God is of perfect being, right? And it is more perfect to exist than not to exist. So he says that we being imperfect being, right? We are thinking about something which is so perfect. And the question is, can we think of that perfect being, being so imperfect ourselves? Can we think about it? So this was first question. Another thing is that if God is such a perfect being, has all the qualities, then there is no chance, if we can think to like that extent, then there is no chance that God is not existing. So this was his theory. This is how he tried to prove the concept of God. So he says that he builds upon the original Enzelman, the philosopher that we discussed in the previous slides. On basis of his ontological argument, he discussed all of his theories. So he says no being can be conceived that is greater than God. Now, we being imperfect, and we cannot even think the great qualities that perfect being has. Why we cannot think of that? Because if we could think of those perfect and amazing qualities, then we would be God. But we cannot think of that, we cannot even imagine that. Then there must be some existence to it, right? Even if I am saying it, I am thinking about it, there are most amazing things of God, then there must be some existence to it. So this being either exists in mind or reality or both. So according to him, that mind and reality both should be there, right? Like the concept of unicorn, this is in mind only but not exist in reality, so the existence disproves itself, right? But there are certain things we think of the perfect being, right, of the perfect things, and they are actually existing in reality. So same he tried to explain with concept of God. So existing in mind or reality is better than only in our mind, right? So he says that if God is existing as a perfect being in my mind, so it is important, the existence is important, and existence prove itself. The thinking of us in our mind prove itself that he is existing in reality. So this better existing mind can be conceived in reality. If the being exists in mind alone, it is not the greatest to be conceived. Therefore this being must exist not only in the mind but also in reality. Understood? So he was like going circular, there was like loop, right? He was proving itself that there is these certain features of God, and this is how we are going to prove God. But then again he was not actually trying, he was not able to define the existence of God on basis of that, and on the basis of this also he got criticized. And his theory, I think therefore I am, is actually based on this, right? So he says that I am existing, cogito ergo sum. I hope that you're aware of it, all the philosophy students. Cogito ergo sum, like this is the first philosopher that we read, right? So he says that I am the one existing, right? And God is the one who is perceiving, and he is the perfect being, and he won't deceive us. And then he questions there might be some like demons, right, who is making us believe. So like his theory is very childish to me, right? So basically he tried to prove God in certain features and tried to tell us that if there is idea in our mind, if there is idea which is coming of God, then in reality also it is existing, right? So these are the theories, these are the thinkings that he come up with. Now let's understand the other philosophers and more of his philosophy. So he takes argument to another level. What did he say? That if God exists, he must be perfect, right? Another thing, a perfect being is perfect in every way. Existence itself is perfection, right? And so God must possess the attribute of existence. So as I said, he was going on loop. He was trying to explain God, but not with the more features and characteristics. He was actually explaining his theory with his theory only, right? He says that if God is existing, if we have this idea of perfect being, if I can imagine such features of God, then there must be some features of it, right? There must be some existence of this perfect being, right? So it is necessary that he should be perfect in every way. Doesn't matter what. If I am having this perfect being idea, then he should exist as a perfect being only, right? And existence itself is a perfection. So as I said, he was going through the circular motion. So these are the similarities that we have even seen in ontological argument, right? So ontological argument which says that existence is proving itself when we started thinking about it, right? So Descartes put more emphasis on the nature of being, right? Instead of being like state of being, he started more emphasizing on nature of being, right? So Anselm was more concerned with the way in which God exists, right? Whether in the mind or reality or both. But Descartes looked more deeply in the quality of the mind, right? How we are perceiving, how we are coming up with the idea of God in our mind. That's the difference between Anselm and Descartes. Okay. So for now, this is it, and I'll be back with another part of God's theory, and we'll discuss more philosophers like Kant and Russell and what idea they generated. Till then, you can tell me what do you think about Descartes and ontological theory. I'll be waiting for your comment in the section, and we'll discuss it over there. Thank you.